Uh, but Joe, I'd really like to start off with a question about the smelter for Elementos. So naturally, the plan would be presumably to offtake from Oropesa directly to the smelter, but do you have plans in terms of looking into the secondary tin component?
Yeah, so the option we have over that asset is actually as a shareholder of the company that owns that asset. So therefore, we would have exposure to all the metals that go through that asset. Our partner CRM will continue to, at minimum, toll some of their secondary products through that asset. And as I said, the asset, with the two of us operating the material through there, most likely on a tolling basis. We'll probably take up majority of its current capacity. However, as I said, the license is basically double what the current facility can do. So obviously the hardest thing when developing a smelter is generally getting your environmental licenses. We would certainly look for the right opportunities to expanding and either expanding the facility to take more secondary or more primary or both.
Okay, thank you very much. And as you just mentioned, sort of licensing there. Permitting is a really big topic in Spain, particularly this year. Sort of thinking about other mines um, that have had some more challenges recently. How are you engaging with the authorities to really ensure that your ESG is on point?
Yeah, so I guess the ultimate thing is you have to realize the regulator is the ultimate decision maker. So you have to work with them very closely, and you basically have to listen to them. So for us, we initially put through a pretty responsible plan, and certainly one we thought ticked, the boxes of nearly every international group and ourselves. The authorities had a slightly different view, which you often get in local places, and we've listened to them. So we've modified our external waste infrastructure, including moving our tailings dam. What wasn't shown in that map, the tailings dam has actually gone to a separate water catchment, not because we were doing any damage to the water catchment, but because there was perceived risk to a drinking dam 20 kilometers away. So you work with the guys and the risk that they perceive, real or perceived, and you work with them for the right result. Now everything they've brought to us is legitimate concerns, and certainly the new proposal we put through has been with significant levels of engagement with them, and certainly we go into our submission with a high degree of confidence that we will tick all the boxes that they put forward for us.
Hey, thank you very much. That's very clear. Similar question for you, Bill. Are you able to run through the environmental impact at Taronga? Someone's asked, are there any NGOs that are involved?
Okay, so the environmental impact, where we're at the moment, we're preparing the actual environmental impact statement, which goes into the authorities in Q1. It then goes on public exhibition, then it's assessed, and then hopefully into developmental approval or with an independent planning committee in the midst of that. We've been doing a lot of work over the last 2 years on the biodiversity, on the native title, the walkovers, the heritage, all of this. In terms of NGOs, I don't think there's specific NGOs involved. We have had a lot of engagement with the local community who are very supportive of the project, with local landholders, the local council. We've held events locally where we bring people together and talk about the development, and we have very strong support. We also reach out to the permitting authorities, so you have to work through the process there. I think as Joe just described, you work with them, you try to understand their needs. And in our case, a key element of that was the scoping report and getting the SEERS, which is the Secretary's Environmental Assessment Requirements, which drives our environmental impact statement. So we get all that feedback and we bring together now all the different work streams, biodiversity, on water, on roads, noise, dust, etc. We bring all that together in the environmental impact statement to submit it early next year.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question for you, Bill. Looking at tin recovery for your processing, it's expected to be about 82%. And how does this compare to other tin projects?
Okay, so the recovery in the DFS, we modelled 59% end-to-end recovery. We are now looking at, through the gravity separation plant, something in the 70-75% range at the moment, and for the crushing part of it, in the 85 to 90% range. So I'm looking at, in the enhancement, taking that recovery from, let's say, 59 to the mid 60s. We believe by adding down the road a fine tin circle, we can get another 3 to 5%. So in the short term, mid 60s, pushing it up towards 70. I can't comment on how other people have their recoveries. There's not a lot of information published at the moment, but that enhancement we're working on at the moment is part of the increase in the NPV from this circa 240 towards the 400. It's a contributor of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And just a comment from me as well, that would be broadly in line with lots of the new supply projects that we see and for existing mines. And there's also been a trial blast recently at Taronga. Bill, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was very important. We used different powder factors, 0.3, 0.5, 0.8. 0.5 was what we've used in the DFS. The thinking was with the mineralogy with the ore body, the way we have these subvertical quartz veins, that this would fracture very easily. So we've done the trial blast. All three powder factors worked very well. The guidance is that we'll start with the 0.5, but we're very early going to be trialing moving to the 0.3. So that'll have cost-saving implications. The second thing about it, just anecdotally, we booked the drillers for 2 days to do the drilling to prepare for the trial blast. They turned up on site, started at 10 a.m., were finished by 4 p.m. It drilled so easily, which, again, my mining engineer on site, that's always been his thesis, that this thing was going to drill easily. So again, that should help us on the drilling side when we get into operation. The fracturing went very well. Noise, dust, no issues came out of that. Again, the results of this we take into the EIS as well. So it was a critical event, and couldn't be happier with the results that came out of it.
Okay, thank you very much. Go back to Joe for another question. So we have a question here from the audience. Joe, you've been in the role for a while. How well are junior tin miners doing at attracting investment, and what more could be done from your perspective?
Hey, I think you've probably seen it, and Bill probably covered it quite well. I'd say the retail side of the market is as poor as I've ever seen it right now, and I think most stockbrokers and people around the world would see that. Inflation, cost of living, these things have people moving a lot of their money out of. Junior miners are often seen as speculative investments, and certainly the money from mums and dads flowing in is certainly dropping off. Strategic investors are obviously coming in and playing a role to fill that gap. Obviously, Bill at First Tin, had Metals X come in, understand the strategic importance of that and the money that Metals X obviously have on their balance sheet, as well as, Cornish have got Vision Blue. So I think we're starting to see the guys that understand the strategic play of tin and the strategic rationale of tin moving forward and the role it plays in the next 5, 10, 20 years starting to come to play, whilst that message to the retail investors probably isn't quite there yet, despite us all doing our best to move the message into the industry.
Right, thank you. And I suppose we're a little bit behind schedule, so time for one more question. Ask Bill, so as you're approaching production with Taronga, so what stage are you at in terms of offtake for your concentrates?
Yeah, I'd like to say we're approaching production. I think we're still probably 2 to 3 years away from that. But already the interest is there. I've had quite a number of off-takers approaching me in recent months, looking for off-take agreements, and they come from North America, Europe, Asia. So the demand is there. Traders as well are getting involved and approaching us. So I think people in the industry see the demand coming. They're looking for the supply. The off-take side of it is not something that I worry about or keeps me up at night, I can assure you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So thank you to Joe and Bill for joining us virtually, and thank you to everyone who's asked questions as well. We will be back for our third and final session at 11:50, so we'll just have a short break. So thank you very much again.